So I'm going to tell you right now, you've got to take some of this responsibility. And the real problem is, Monique, you're being ill-advised, ill-advised. You're not thinking for yourself. And the real problem is your husband. At that point, I had to grab Whoopi Goldberg's hands as we were sitting across the table from one another. And I said, sister, let me tell you about my husband because you're misinformed. And you're making statements that you really don't know what you're talking about. But let me fill you in when you say it's my husband. I said, see, I've had the big white manager. I've had the big white agent. I've had the big attorney firm all in Hollywood. And every one of them that I had, when I would walk into those meetings, I would watch those people cheat me. I would watch them cheat me. And I would watch them, and they would say to me, we'll get him the next time, Monique. We'll get him the next time, Monique. I said, Whoopi, the reason why my husband is considered to be a problem is because when we're in those meetings with those executives, they can't answer his questions. And what normally happens is when we get into those meetings, there are normally no questions ever asked. It is whatever you offer us, that is what we accept, and you're supposed to keep on going. I said, that is why they're having a problem with my husband. I said, so when you say to me, that's the real problem, and I would never say this to anybody, I appreciate what you're saying to me because there was a woman that was talking to me out of love and out of fear. And I said to Whoopi Goldberg in her dressing room, for some of the things she was sharing with me, which I will never share publicly because she shared it with me. But I said to her, what you're sharing with me makes me have to fight even harder. Because if not, the baby coming up behind us, she going to have the same story that me and you're having. I said, Whoopi, how come we can't sit back like Roseanne Barr can? How come we can't sit back like Rosie O'Donnell? How come we can't sit back like Ellen DeGeneres? How come we can't sit back like our white women counterparts? How come we're not given the same opportunities and the same paydays? And when I look at my sister, and she looks back at me, and she says, I need you to let it go and just move on. And I said, Whoopi, because we keep letting it go is why they keep fucking over us. So I can't let it go. We've moved on. That's just life. You've got to move on. But you can't let it go when you've been bullied. And when I get faced with, it's her husband, I want to tell y'all something about my husband. Nada made me take my glasses off, Daddy.
Uh-oh.
I want to tell y'all something about him because I'm getting a little tired of hearing, especially the black women that's in the business that want to tell me about my husband. And when I have black women telling me about my husband that's in the business, but then I say, who is your husband?
I don't have one.
Oh, who are you in a relationship with?
I don't have one.
But you're taking out the time to tell me all that my husband's not doing. See, my husband being my manager, it was a position that he did not ask for. And he kept saying, Mama, that's not what I want to do. And I said, Daddy, I'm going to need you to do this. And then we had a meeting with the guy that was my manager at the time. And this white man said to me, listen, our job is not to be in a relationship with you. The talent is never our best interest. Our best interest has to be with the studios and the networks because, Monique, people like you, y'all come and go. So we have to have the relationships with Hollywood. That day he lost his job as my manager.
That day.
And that's when I had to look to my husband and he said, you don't have to say no more. So when people are beginning to question me about my husband, especially women that look like me, see, I don't know how many of your managers, when you hosted the BET Awards, I don't know how many of your managers wrote that show for you. See, my husband, he wrote that. Every word y'all heard me say on that stage that night, my husband wrote that. But I don't know how many of y'all managers do that. See, when my husband goes into those meetings with those executives, and what he says is, in a very gentleman way, I can't allow y'all to cheat her. See, the same thing Viola is saying is the same thing I'm saying. It's no different. It's no different. So when y'all want to question, what am I doing with my husband, who is also my manager, it saddens me that so many of our black women are brainwashed to believe your man can't do it.
And when you ask what are my credentials to manage, my credentials to manage are simply utilizing common sense. See, since I was 19, I was closing deals for folks that were four figures, and I was closing deals for people in their 40s and 50s at the age of 19, and now I know what it is to close from a four-figure deal to an eight-figure deal. Now, there's people that have done way more than I, but a little young black guy from Baltimore, Maryland, closing 7 and 8 figure deals. That's my credentials right there. That's my resume. And I say it with the utmost humility, because at the end of the day, I'm not connected to the world that the Caucasians may be connected to. I'm not impressed by anyone because of your color, because of your cash flow. And if you are not comfortable with being respectful to someone named Monique who has earned it, I am very comfortable saying to you, we respectfully decline your most gracious offer. Because I'm not in a position, nor am I worthy, of being the person who is going to impose what I want to do over someone who has had a 30-year career. What my job is to do is execute what it is that she asked me to do. And you'll have to forgive me for not being the person and the man who, when my wife says, and my client, in quotes, says, hey, I don't want to go out here and work and fly internationally and leave my family, and I'm not contractually obligated to do so. Because if I was to ask Lionsgate for a dime and offer them nothing, the world would look at me as if I'm crazy. So when they call, when Tyler calls, when Oprah calls, I'm going to choose my family over fame because they were not offering any finances. And as opposed to me being the type of man who says to my wife and my client, hey, listen, don't you know how powerful they are?
Come on.
Don't you know if you don't go that they will hurt us and they will affect us? What I said was, you know what? I understand, because the woman from Lionsgate wanted to make me aware that, well, Halle Berry, she campaigned. Well, Halle Berry, she even fixed them breakfast. And as I explained to her, that is more than fair that Halle Berry would choose to do that, but you'll have to understand, and please forgive us, that Monique's not going to pour any cereal, not a glass of orange
No
juice,
Scrapple.
not cut a Scrapple, not an orange slice, a sliver, because humbly she would feel like she was pandering for an award. And if someone else does it, that's their right. However, she's saying I put more value on my family than I do on the fame, since you are offering me no finances. So you'll have to excuse me for being so terrible that I would not allow my wife to get raped by the system